Before I came to Advanced Learning Academy, I saw school as boring and not as fun. But when I came, I actually want to go to school. I'm excited to come back the next day. I never thought I'd think about school that way. The teachers ask us like once a week, what can they do to make our learning experience better? And so we give them our ideas like learning outside or taking some field trips. And it's really fun to do hands-on learning experiences.
Our school believes in the student's voice. The Advanced Learning Academy is way more active. It's way more hands-on. You don't sit in the classroom staring at like a smart board for like hours and just reading textbooks and doing paper math. Doing it and seeing the environment and going on these field trips, seeing the world, and it helps us be more invested in what we're doing, and it helps us learn better.
Here at the Advanced Learning Academy, we're a high school that focuses on growing innovative change makers for the future. We do that by offering a variety of learning experiences that allow students to learn things at a deep level so that they can solve and have the tools necessary so they can solve the complex problems and challenges of the world. The one thing that I love the most about my job here is when my hands are off the controls of the classroom because the students have true ownership of their learning.
We are live from Bibliotech EDU. Welcome to Cast Live, where leaders connect with future leaders. My name is Lisa Luna. I'm a junior at the Advanced Learning Academy, and today I'm welcoming Jesse Hernandez. Mr. Hernandez was born and raised on the south side of San Antonio, Texas. The landscape of his career ranges from grading ditches to counseling executives. His trek through the org charts has helped him appreciate that we are more alike than we are different. He leverages his insight and this experience by supporting leaders with cultivating buy-in. Welcome.
Thank you, Miss Luce. Jesse Hernandez, my name is Jesus, and I have to say that because my mom might see this video. And every time my mom knows that I introduce myself as Jesse and not Jesus, she gets mad. She's like, man, that ain't the name I gave you. So my name's Jesus, but Jesse. And the message I want to share today is my path to becoming the promise I'm intended to be. And Miss Luce did a phenomenal job of introducing me, which sounded kind of fancy, right? I even got dressed up fancy. What do you think about the shoes? Woo-hoo, watch out, baby. So there's a gap in the information that I want to maybe shine some light on in terms of there's a line in there on the intro or my bio that talks about going from grading ditches to counseling executives. So today, my job, the way I earn income is I'm a consultant. I just started my own business in April of this year, and I'm an independent consultant. And I get to buy fancy, shiny clothes. Actually, I've had this for like 3 years. Like, it's not cheap. Anyways, but I did start off as an apprentice plumber, right out of high school. You think I went to college? Is that good? Indifferent? I like that. Thank you. Not sure. So I didn't graduate from college. I did end up taking night courses as I went through my apprenticeship in the trade. So my story is a bit about maybe not a bit, entirely a non-traditional path. And it's really important to me because some of us learn and grow differently. And my experience was that I was kind of pushed down this one single path and kind of believed that it was the only path, which was terrifying. It was a lot of pressure. And so what I'm going to talk about is 3 points. One is conditions. The other is suppressed instincts. And the third point is service to others. And those 3 things help, like in retrospect, looking back, I was able to see like, oh, that's what happened. I wasn't doing it intentionally. Now, anybody want to guess how old I am? I know I look super nerdy.
22.
Whoa, my favorite. Give her a Whataburger. No, not 22. I'm 46. But I was about 42 when I was able to say, like, wait a minute. This is what happened. What if I start doing this on purpose? And my intent is to give these little nuggets to y'all so that you can start doing it on purpose right now. And anybody can, right? Educators in the back, you too. And so when I talk about conditions, what I'm talking about is the conditions that are best suited for me to learn, thrive, and grow. Who loves sitting down, or rather, let me say it this way. Who doesn't have a hard time sitting down, doing your work, staying quiet, staying focused? Who's like really good at that? Oh, that's cool, man. I appreciate that. So the rest of us, that's a difficult proposition, right? Like, what do you mean sit down? Like, for me, it drove me nuts. Now, here's another one. I'm going to be a little arrogant here. Who gets work assigned to them, and it's like a cakewalk? You just knock it out. It's no big deal. It's not very challenging. You get it done, and then it's like, man, what am I supposed to do now? You see smiles, yeah? Kind of. So that was me. I was that student that the work that they were giving me, and I was in smart classes too. Like, I wasn't just a troublemaker, but I was in smart classes too. And the work that they gave me, I could get it done. It was just, okay, I could do the thing. And because of my energy, I have a lot of energy. I've always had a lot of energy. I would distract people. I would really drive my teachers crazy. And what I discovered after I graduated high school, I needed a summer job so I could go pay for my room and board to go to Tyler Jr. College. Because the Astros, Houston Astros, forgot to call me. Like, back then, we didn't have social media, so they couldn't find me. So I was going to go and try out for Tyler Jr. College to play baseball for them. And I needed money to pay for room and board. I had the tuition covered, but the room and board I didn't. My dad's a plumber, so he got me a summer job. And I walked on that job site, and I was like in Disneyland, right? Like, it was a renovation at Memorial High School over here on the west side, and the amount of sensory input that was happening when I walked on that job site was like exactly what I needed. Now, it's not exactly what everybody needs, but for me, the noise, there was a lot of noise, right? There was a lot of action going on. The work required me to put my hands on things. The communication, it's a different, maybe less refined style of communication than in other professional places, but it fit me perfectly, right? My attitude and my energy, all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I need to be doing, because it engaged all of my senses, and there was so much, or rather enough going on to facilitate me staying connected to the task at hand. Had I gone to college, I would have been in a classroom. And classrooms, I have like maybe a 20-minute threshold before I lose my mind, even today. It takes a lot of energy for me to stay sitting down and not disrupting people. So that's where I discovered this conditions idea. What are the conditions that I best learn in? What are the conditions that nurture the talents within me so that I can grow to a degree that nobody can even see right now? Now, that wasn't an easy proposition, because I was at Brackenridge High School. We're in the multilingual program, college geared courses. So the expectation was go to college or flip burgers, right? I didn't know, unless it's Whataburger, right? Heck, we got to get some Whataburgers in here. I didn't know that there was anything outside of that. Go to college, join the military, or flip burgers. And flipping burgers is noble work, right? That burger's good. And so there was this idea, or this thing that I was wrestling with. And the thing that I was wrestling with was these expectations, right? These expectations that I go to college to be an engineer. Who wants to be an engineer? Got a few engineers in here? Fabulous. Please do it. We need engineers. I did not even know what an engineer looked like. Do you know what an engineer, do you know somebody that you, when you think of engineer, yeah, that person, have you connected with them? Have you talked to them one-on-one? Awesome. Have you spent time in their workspace? Yes. That's the recommendation here. That's one of the takeaways. Whatever that career is that your heart is set on right now, go find out what it feels like. Because I'll tell you, it wasn't for me. There's no way I would have been able to do that job. Rather, I would have been able to do the job, but my energy would have helped me get them unemployed real quick, right? I would have driven people a little bit nuts. And there's different variations of engineering. The point is, there was this expectation that I subscribed to. I internalized it. And because I got so much fulfillment out of working with my hands as a tradesman, as a craft worker, I felt like a failure. Anybody feel like a failure sometimes? All the time? Most of the time? You're not alone, right? Like everybody's not in their head. We all feel, how about educators in the back? Y'all ever feel like failures? Like that is a natural, that's just part of being human. I didn't know that at the time until I beat myself up a bunch. And so that takes us to like this idea around suppressed instincts. My instinct is to engage with people, is to serve people, and to have excitement, like learning. You know, there's this is a delineation in Jesse land, and it served me well, but it's maybe don't subscribe to this, right? Press, what do you do that? The head earmuffs. When I think of education, I think of sit down, listen, memorize, repeat, right? Which thankfully y'all aren't in that situation. Y'all school is a pretty amazing, forward-thinking, progressive program, yeah? So that's good. So that's education. For me, learning is I learn through experience, right? I learn through the application of the concepts and the ideas that are being presented. So applying the Pythagorean theorem, when we were doing it on paper, it's like, so what? Like, what am I going to do with this? I can't make a burger with it, right? Like, what's the point? But when I got into plumbing, all of a sudden I had to figure a 45-degree offset. And guess what? There's A, B, C, right? 3, 4, 5. I could apply it and bam, like, oh, that's that thing that they were talking about. Now it makes sense. So back to suppressed instincts. I got into the trade and working in the trades. I completed 4 years of apprenticeship work, which were amazing. And I played a bunch of different roles as I progressed in my career. But the interesting thing was my surroundings, the people around me, because I'm a ravenous, curious learner. I like to learn people, I like to connect with people, I like to learn new things, explore things that make absolutely no sense to anybody except for me. And I'm like, but I need it, right? Like I really, really have to feed myself from that perspective. But I suppressed my instinct to learn, my instinct to grow. I continued to suppress it to meet some expectation from some other weirdos. They weren't buying me no burgers, right? They weren't hooking me up. They weren't helping me in any way. They were just critiquing me and kind of sprinkling their negative fairy dust all over me. And then I got to a point where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do what I'm going to do because you ain't paying my bills, right? And that's kind of when another spike in growth happened and started doubling down on what I wanted to learn, super nerdy stuff. I learned continuous improvement, process improvement, lean, leadership development, all kinds of stuff, to the point where I ended up drafting and deploying a training and development program to get people from installer, plumber, sheet metal pipe fitter to foreman, and from foreman to superintendent. I don't have any certification to do that, right? I didn't have the experience or the education that qualified me to do that, except that I lived through the transition of each of those roles. And I wanted to serve my people, my friends that were trying to do the job and they were struggling, which also cost us money, cost the company money. So I just did it. Of course, I reached out to people and say, hey, what do you think? So I learned, I stole ideas from people. I'll call them the common phrase we use, a buddy of mine, Adam Hoots, rip and deploy. So if you have an awesome idea, man, great idea. I'm going to use that and I'm going to put it out over here and connect it to something else. Of course, unless it's like intellectual property, then I don't want to get arrested. So that takes us like this suppressed instinct. Question for the group. And please answer or raise your hand, whatever, or nod your head. What instincts, what is that drive within you that you are suppressing because of expectations self-imposed expectations, these expectations that people have that you've adopted. You know, right? You know what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I want to be super clear, like this is extra important. I was able to act on my instincts because I was independent. What does independent mean? I was paying my bills, right? If I was living with mom and dad and they were paying my bills, I don't get to act on my instinct. I kind of have to fulfill the expectation. So that's a critical point. Make sure you keep that one in mind because you get in trouble and I don't want to get kicked out from ever coming back over here. So when I was independent, I was able to do these things, pursue my interests and build them. But to what end, right? At the time, the thinking that I had subscribed to was to make more money, right? How much, just throw it out there. What's a good amount of money to make in a year in your job? Please.
Probably around 24K, 30K.
Okay.
78K.
80?
78.
78, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say around $70,000 a year. That's like on average.
Okay,
They've done studies on it or whatever, right?
perfect. Thank you. Did you have something?
I think so around like 33 to 50 lakhs.
Awesome. How about over here, this side of the room?
I'm thinking around like 50, 60.
50, 60. So we have a range of like 20 to 78, right? I'm going to tell you this. I have earned that amount, all of those amounts, right? All the way past the six-figure mark. And it didn't matter in terms of fulfillment, in terms of contribution. It didn't give me joy. It didn't give me contentment. That makes sense? I got to buy a lot of shiny stuff, like these shiny shoes, right? I got to buy a lot of stuff like these little cameras and everything else I have. But something was absent. Something was missing, and it was the fulfillment. So I made all the money, bought all the shiny things, and I looked around, and anybody seen Scarface? And I'm like, is this it? Is this what I've been working for? Because I was not happy. So then I shifted and said, okay, I've got these things, and I added the last element, which is serving others. When I work in service to others, you know what happens? I get some fulfillment. Yeah, look at that big old smile, like, yeah, ding. Working in service to others had, like, again, that's another spike and a leap in terms of my career growth, in terms of my earning. Like, that's the crazy part, right? Is I do a lot of stuff for free in service to others. My income, like starting off my business, I thought it was going to be hard. It ain't hard. I don't have to raise my prices this year. My prices ain't cheap. Like, they're crazy expensive. Anyways, but as I continue to serve and provide value to people and share my gifts and talents, and so that's a question. What are my gifts and talents? More important question is, what are your gifts and talents? And what are you doing to develop them and share them? Because I believe that we're here to release our gifts and talents into the world. Releasing our gifts and talents into the world is being on the path to become the promise you're intended to be. And as we do that, the growth, the trajectory to where you're headed, you can't even imagine what it is. You know, again, Ms. Luce did a fantastic job of introducing me in my fancy bio that I wrote by myself. I put all those words together. And I started off grading ditches, like for real, in the ditches, doing plumbing, roughing in schools, buildings, hospitals, Alamo Dome, like all kinds of places I've done work in. And now, so this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to say it. So from there, I went from apprenticeship, foreman, leadman, foreman, journeyman, superintendent, workforce development, recruiting, drafted an internship program to get students between 16 and 18 to get out there and actually do work and earn a living. Then I went to work for the largest contractor in the world, and I traveled around the country for them, introducing people to process improvement and team building. And then I went to work for another national brand where I was the national director of environmental health and safety. And then I wrote a book. And then a journal, which all of y'all have, will give for everybody, little journal for y'all to start thinking, start tinkering around and figuring out, what is it? What do I need? What are the relationships like that are going to enhance the quality of my life? Got a podcast, a live stream every other Saturday. There is no career path right now anywhere on anybody's curriculum that will connect all of those dots. Does that make sense? The only thing that connected those dots were these three things. The conditions. I had to understand, what are the conditions that I thrive in? What are the conditions that I learn, retain, and grow? I had to get beyond suppressing my instincts. I had to be me. I'm a peacock. I got to spread my wings and fly, right? We all got to do that. And then, yeah, I know, they don't fly. It's a joke. Lucy's like, wait a minute. You were sounding real smart until you said that. And then lastly is to serve others. When I walk in service to others, it unlocks all of these amazing things. And one of which right now is the highlight of the year is being able to come and speak with y'all. What questions do we have?
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. We will now open the floor up to any questions. Please raise your hand and say your name when you are, and I will start with the first question. What is something that motivated you throughout your journey?
Oh man, so my motivation, thank you, Ms. Smith. My motivation throughout my journey was the image, y'all are gonna make me cry. The image of my parents struggling, doing jobs that they hated, doing jobs where they didn't feel appreciated or valued. And they did it to provide me comfort. That's what motivated me, is I don't have to do it that way. Now there's some other things, right? Conditions. I had to like minimize my debt, and I'm super cheap. Like I don't like Whataburger, bro, for me once a month because stuff's expensive. But because I didn't have debt, I was able to design my life in such a way that I get to pick my leader. I get to pick the work that I do, and I get to pick the people that I work with. If my leader stinks, guess what? I ain't working for you. If the work's horrible and meaningless, guess what? I'm moving on. And if I'm working with a bunch of people that they're a drag, I'm out. Done. But because I've managed things in such a way that my living expenses are very low, I can do work that I love and avoid what I got to see. But so many, maybe even some of your parents are in that situation. That was my motivator. Yes, ma'am. Please.
You talk about, I'm sorry, my name's Anthony.
Anthony.
You talk about serving the community a lot. How does that take form for you?
Oh, that's a huge question. So Anthony asked, I'm talking about serving the community and how did that take form, right? How did that evolve? And actually this story is in the second book because I'm in the middle of writing the second book. Anyways, my baby brother, I have a brother who's 18 years younger than me. He's like this big now. And he was in 7th grade and I saw he needed some additional masculine support. So I got involved, and to keep him in line, it also helped me kind of get my stuff in line, like get my rear in gear. And so I just went to the school and said, hey, he's being a fool. I'm going to sit down in class with him. I need to be involved. I need to be visible. And they said, sure, come on, So I did a few things there. And then another opportunity. It was super uncomfortable because I was just a brother, right? I wasn't his dad. I wasn't his mom. I was his brother. And I ain't been in a school since 1995, right? Like, it's been a minute. But I started to understand, like, oh, they're just, these educators, they're people too. They're cool. Like, they're all right. Some are cool. And I started just kind of testing the water in different things. And what I found out by just testing it, so experimentation is huge. By just going in and putting myself in an uncomfortable situation, an unfamiliar situation, I was able to say, ooh, I like this. Or negative, I ain't doing that one again. Because I did a bunch of different volunteer type things. And turns out what I really, really enjoyed at that point in time when it comes to community service was organizing events. And then, you know why I liked it though? What I liked about it is, well, I was organizing events with people that had never organized an event before. And so what did that mean? What it meant was they were getting way outside their comfort zone. And I was there to escort them out of their comfort zone. That was what I really, really loved. And so I started finding other ways to do that more often with any organization that was available. That helpful?
Yep.
Thank you. Great question. Yes, sir.
What was the order of name first? Hi, my name is Alton.
Alton.
And I was just wondering, so you don't have like a college degree, right?
I do not.
So I was just wondering, were there any times in your career history where you found you were at a disadvantage because you didn't have a college degree, or at an advantage because you didn't have a college degree?
Oh, that's a dynamic question. Thank you, sir. So was having a college degree a plus or a negative? Or in both cases, the answer is yes to both. So not having a college degree. So most of my work I do today is consult in construction companies, big construction companies. And when I go to interact with, and I'm interfacing directly with the trades, like the people that are doing the work, project managers, superintendents, foremen, all of the above. And because I didn't go to college, I get a little bit of street cred from them, because most of them haven't gone to college either, right? You know, once you get past project manager, the rate of college degrees it diminishes. And they'll ask, like, well, what college did you go to? Like, I didn't. I went to apprenticeship, ABC, South Texas. And they're like, oh. Right, so I get a little bit of street cred there. And I think the other way it helped me is the way I think is just the way I figured things out. And so when I speak, I'm only going to speak from experience, not a concept that I read somewhere else, not some cool quote that I heard somewhere. I lived it, so I know what it feels like. The disadvantage, there was a period of time when I was at the mechanical contractor that I was working for, we had one leader, and this was an observation I made, is that whole necessity to have a degree often falls on the leader that just has that expectation. And so this leader, there was a promotion, there was some opportunities available for me to advance my career, make more money and all that. And he kept on, he's like, but you don't have a college degree. And that bugged me. I'm like, oh, I've been working here 10 years. You know what I got? But because I don't have a degree, like I'm not qualified to do that. So it stung a little bit. But the other truth to that was I didn't really want that role. And that leader ended up leaving. And then guess what happened? I got the role because I had the skills. And so that's the important thing for me. And I think it's important for anybody, because after you get the degree, the learning doesn't stop. We still have to be committed to learning. And putting a podcast together, that's a lot of work. Figuring out how to live stream, that's a lot of learning to be done. Editing and producing content, those are a whole bunch of other skills that I had to learn. And so a commitment to continuous learning, I believe, rather I'll say it this way, in Jesse land is the way. The certificates and all that stuff, nobody cares, right? Like in my world, when I go apply for a job or I'm talking to a client and we're working a 6-figure deal, they're not asking me what my grades were in high school. They're not asking me what my grade was on my journeyman license. They want to know, can I deliver value or not, period. Now, for some places, it's an entry point, it's necessary. For some careers, it's absolutely necessary. Like if you're gonna be a doctor, you're gonna work on me, you better been gone to school. Because I need you to take care of me. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, so in summary, experience for what you're doing.
For what I'm doing, it is the compilation of experience, the knowledge base, and most importantly, which I haven't talked much about, relationships.
Network.
Yes.
Thank you.
100. Yes, sir. How we doing on time? Good? Hey, folks in the back, y'all get to ask questions too. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Do you consider yourself like a leader in what you're doing?
Ooh, y'all are asking great questions. So Mia asked if I consider myself a leader in what I'm doing. I'll say this first. There's a lot of content out there around leadership and management and leaders. I like to keep things simple. There's one thing a leader has or doesn't have, and that's followers. So if nobody is following me, am I a leader? No. I could brand myself as a leader. I could message it like people do this all the time. They create a website, leadership guru. But do you have leaders? So from that perspective, simplest terms, absolutely I'm a leader. Now, a deeper level of the definition of a leader for me is a few things. One is leaders challenge, right? I'm going to challenge you to grow, to reach a target, to execute on tasks, to deliver a certain level of quality, whatever that is. I'm also going to nurture you if I'm a leader. So I'm going to set the challenge, and I'm going to make sure that I provide you the resources to meet the challenge. And I'm going to nurture your growth as you slip and fall and fail and, all that fun stuff, because that's what we do. We're human beings. And then lastly, continue developing my own capabilities. I've got to go build new skills. I've got to go enhance the little that I think I know right now. So when I add that element to the leader question, absolutely I'm a leader. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes.
So I'm Jaime.
Jaime.
Yeah, I just want to ask. So how did you get into doing videos and live streaming? Why did you want to do that?
Oh, thank you, Jaime. So Jaime wants to know, how did I get into live streaming and videos and on all that, right? Like, I always wanted to be an actor. No, I'm joking. That's not what happened. What happened was during COVID, my job, like I said, I was traveling around the country. I couldn't travel anymore. And so they said, Jesse, you need to work from home and you need to figure out how to do your job virtually. Right? So Teams and Zoom and all that stuff. What that meant was I had a lot of time to think because I wasn't flying to the airport, checking in the hotel, like all of that stuff was gone. I was just home all the time. And I was evaluating my job. So the other thing that happened was doing that job decrease the amount of opportunities I could do stuff like this, come and engage with students. So anytime I get an invitation to talk to students, educators, parents about careers in the industry, or maybe alternative career pathways, I'm totally down. But COVID hit, bro, and I couldn't do it anymore. Nobody was everybody was at home. And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching, I think Dr. Madi recommended to check out it was a biography on Danny Trejo, right? You know Danny Trejo? Machete, right? Like Danny, anyway, so I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, super motivated. And there was one piece where he talked about, they asked him like, hey, you've been in over 200 plus movies and you've never been the leading man. How do you feel about that? And his answer was, they pay me. I was like, oh, that's interesting. He's like, yeah, they pay me. And with that income, I sustain my life and I go serve others. Because what he does is he goes and talks to people that are incarcerated and in penitentiary and continues serving the message. And I don't know why, but in my head, I was like, oh, what am I whining about? Like, I have income. I've got a really great job. I can do something to continue spreading the message. I had just recently been interviewed in a podcast with a friend of mine. And I said, well, that looked pretty easy. Hey, Adam, my buddy, Adam Gates, he's an architect here in San Antonio. I said, hey, man, can you school me on this podcasting thing? He's like, yeah, man. So he showed me what I needed. Turned out I had everything I needed. I just had to do it. And so from there, it was just a podcast, Learnings and Missteps podcast, focused on enhancing the image of careers in the trades. And then little by little, podcast, live stream here, live stream there, social media, and then now I'm on all the socials. My goal is to become TikTok famous. that help?
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, sir. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Rosalind.
Rosalind.
My question is, with doing all these live streams and TikToks and social media, how have you gained more confidence with doing it?
Oh, confidence. Thank you, Miss Rosalind. So the question is, with doing all this social media stuff, how did I gain more confidence? I'll tell you right now, if you go back and look at the stuff that I did like 2 years ago when I first started, like it doesn't give me a lot of confidence. But I know for me, I learned through iteration. I learned through practice. I learned through doing the thing. And I'm totally okay with coloring outside the lines and being messy, right? Because there's this thing within me, and I don't know if I got it from when I was a kid. Like when I get an idea, I have to take action. I'm compelled to do something with it. And if I don't, that's the suppressed instinct thing, right? Like, yeah, I'm nervous. Yeah, I'm afraid people are gonna make fun of me. I'm not gonna get any likes or clicks. Like, I don't get a lot. But just doing it was an exercise in building confidence, right? If you want confidence, do the thing. If I want confidence in public speaking, you know what I gotta do? I gotta do me some public speaking. I'm not gonna get confidence by thinking about it, dreaming about it. I'm gonna get confidence by doing it. Public speaking, this is what I do. Like, let me massage this. So public speaking, some people might think speaking to an audience at the Alamo Dome. Public speaking can be me speaking to 2 people. And that's a rep. And then I get to learn. Or speaking into a camera and then watching to pay attention to how I'm rolling, how I'm flowing, what I'm saying. Did I cuss? I hope I didn't. I'll find out later. So it was that. And then Pete, here's the thing. Y'all got a journal in your hand. Can you edit a blank page?
In what way?
Exactly. You can't. So if I'm gonna write something down, if I have a story in my head or an idea or a thought, I can edit it in my head. The problem with that is, for me, I'm getting stuck on this perfection thing, right? I want it to be perfect before I let it out into the world. You feel me? Right? Like, oh, I don't know. You know what the problem with perfect is? Nobody sees it. You nailed it. It doesn't exist. Nobody sees it. It stays in your head. So I have to get it out of my head so people can see it. And then what happens? They like it or they don't. They watch it or they don't. And I can start learning, what do people resonate with? What do they like? What do they respond to? What am I comfortable with doing? Because I could be doing like all the dancey stuff on TikTok. But I ain't that kind of guy, right? That's the fans only content. What I do is I put stuff out there so that I can interact with the person on the other side of that device, and they can inform me of what is meaningful, valuable, and interesting. And then I do more of that. That's how I built the confidence. That help? Yeah? Yes, ma'am. I wasn't picking on you. You helped me with the point, so thank you for that. Nobody? Ooh, please.
My name's David.
David.
Has time ever been like an obstacle for you, or have you ever had an issue with time management and like getting to your goals?
Has time ever been an obstacle, and is time management an issue for me getting to my goals? Absolutely, and no. And here's why. Time really becomes an issue if I want to do everything right now. I could list off all the things that book and audiobook and podcast, blah, blah. I didn't do all of that at the same time. I did it a little bit. I did one, and then I did the next one, and I did the next one. The other thing, it's a little twist, and this one I really recommend you think about. I don't think there's such a thing as time management. The sun does it for us. Clocks do it for us. There's nothing we can do to speed it up, to slow it down, to get more, to cash it in, to buy more. Time is happening all the time. We all get the same 24 hours. All of us, all the time. unless we don't wake up, right? So is it a time management thing or is it a Jesse management thing? It's 100% Jesse management thing. So it's about self-management. How do I manage myself within the time the sun rises and the sun sets? What am I doing that is providing value, that is helping me develop my skill set, my knowledge, and my capabilities? More importantly, what am I not doing? What am I doing that's detracting from that? When I had the idea to start the podcast, first question I was like, man, there ain't no way. I'm flying 3 times a week. I'm over here. I'm over there. I don't have the time. You know what I did? Like, for real, you can do this. I pulled out my phone and I said, it's got a cool little app that that does like a time tracker, how much time you've been spending on what. Anybody want to guess how much time I was spending on gaming and social media?
40% of your time.
Woo! Almost.
Oh,
Good guess though.
20%.
20%. I was spending about 4 hours a day, right? Which is Netflix, TikTok, like all the social media, YouTube. She's like, oh man, right? So I had the time. I had 28 hours a week that I was giving to something else that I could do something valuable with. That help?
Yes.
Last question.
Yes.
Can you speak to relationships and the importance of them? That's the last question.
Wow, that's a big question. So relationships. And Dr. Mahdi asked if I could speak to relationships and the importance of them. I think at the core of all of this stuff, of any leader, of anybody that's going to be a creator, make whatever amount of money it is you want to make, it is the relationships. Early in my life, and when I say early, I mean like up to my mid-30s, I didn't understand the value of the relationships. So a thinking model that it's helped me with it, and I recommend also, is think of relationship or interactions with people in terms of transactional and relational. What does that mean? Yes, please.
Are you referring to like having personal relationships and having professional relationships?
Ooh, I like that. That is a good distinction, and I'm going to challenge you to see them all the same.
Oh boy.
I know. But the difference between transactional and relational, transactional is this: hey, give me a double meat, double cheese. Here's $8 or $9, whatever it is. What did it cost? Oh, bro, I got to put that on layaway. $10? That's expensive. But that's a transaction, right? You're the hooking me up with the burger. I'm going to give you money. I'm going to get something. You're going to get something. I'm going to get something. That's transactional. And so early in my life, that's how I valued people. Like, I wasn't going to talk to you unless I was going to get something out of it, period. And if you wanted something from me and you weren't offering something, I'm busy, right? You ain't going to get it. Does that seem like somebody you want to hang out with? No, but that's how I rolled. All right, that's how I treated people. And so back to your question about personal and professional. That's how I functioned all the time, at personal and professionally. That's how I saw relationships. So relational is, how can I contribute to your growth? How can I challenge you? Do I value you enough to give you my time, to understand what it is that bugs you, to understand, to just listen to you, right? Like I'm making deposits in an emotional bank account. Because at some point in the future, I'm gonna need some help. We all get into problems and we're gonna need some help. Why would you help me if I've never been there for you? So think about that, transactional and relational relationships. And another really important thing, especially because I've been in San Antonio all my life, is most of the folks in my industry, in the construction industry, have been in San Antonio and still are in San Antonio. There's some people that see me today and they're like, who are you? Because I'm nice. I didn't used to be nice. I was a jerk. I was rude. I was abrupt. I was short. I was abrasive. Okay, get to the point. I got to go. We got to make this happen. And they see me now, like, well, where did this come from? The point there is the relationships, those interactions stick. people are going to remember. You've all heard the quote, right? People don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel. So that's an important element of relationships because we're doing it all the time. Every interaction we have with people, we're changing the world, one world at a time, all the time. And so the investment in the relationships is really what, like, another huge contributing factor to the leaps in terms of my career growth, experiences, networking, income, is because somebody was in a class that I taught and said, man, the way you teach it's engaging, it's fun, you seem to get it. I got this job. I think you're right for it. I said, I ain't got no certifications. I don't care. Like, this, we think it's for you. And that's how it happened. Right? And then the next job as the national role that I had, same thing. I said, man, Jess, I've worked with you. I've seen you, how you deal with people, how you can get people on board. I need help transforming the culture. Come do this with me. I said, okay. So relationships right now until forever, they're going to help you or they're going to hurt you. Dr. Madi?
Thank you everyone for joining us today. Join us next week, Wednesday, January 25th at 6 p.m. for our Dream Week on Global Changemakers, live from CastMed. Visit castschools.com for more information. Thank you.